hello there. Happy New Year and welcome to the Poetry News 2022. I'm Martin Gray and I am joined today by Arsene and Eddie. How are you doing, everyone? Are you well? And Happy New Year.
Hi.
Happy New Year.
How were your holidays? Were they good?
Yeah, very.
Yeah.
Glad to hear it. And for everyone watching, we hope that you had some very happy holidays as well. Unfortunately, Squigs isn't very well today. We hope you get very well soon, Squigs, and we hope to see you back in the next episode. But in the meantime, please do rest up. Coming up on the show today, we have a Gothic poetry submission. We have poetry inspired by healing journeys. We have Jess Parker talking about her experiences of writing and publishing her poetry book. And we have an Irish hospital prescribing poetry to its staff. But first, The Dark Sire. The Dark Sire is, quoting from their website, the online literary magazine for short fiction, poetry, and art in the subgenres of Gothic, horror, fantasy, and psychological realism. They are permanently open to submissions for exactly that. Quoting from their website, they say, the main focus of the magazine is to celebrate the influential work of Edgar Allan Poe, Mary Shelley, Anne Rice, Stephen King, J.R.R. Tolkien, and Dostoevsky, and thus will accept submissions from authors and artists who delve into the mystery, psychosis, suspense, and looming darkness of Gothic, horror, fantasy, and psychological realms. Suitable subject matter may include, but is not limited to, vampires, monsters, old castles, dragons, magic, mental illness, hell, disease, or the decay of society. There is no payment for accepted submissions. However, submissions are free and you can send up to 5 poems at a time. Full terms and conditions, as well as the submission link, are available at thedarksiremag.com. At this point, I'd like to ask Arsene and Eddie, what do you think about this? Are you into your Gothic poetry? Do you love to read it? Do you love to write it? What do you think about a magazine like this?
Now, reading it, and I wouldn't write it. It's not my cup of tea. And I never tried writing anything that involves these mythical or these otherworldly beings. But reading them, I'm on the fence about reading this type of poetry because on the one hand, I see like the imagery there is just amazing. And it is things that you wouldn't want to put in a poem in which you are not dealing with some Gothic, capital G, Gothic themes. But on the other hand, it is still not my cup of tea. It is still something that I would prefer to read something else. And I also, like in my 10th grade curriculum, for example, I teach Gothic literature for like an entire term. And there's this kind of battle within me where I'm trying to convince my students that it's amazing, you should read it, because of course I have to convince my students to read. But on the other hand, I'm like, yeah, when can we move on? When can we get to something else? When can we do the stuff that I actually like? So yeah, I'm on the fence. It's something I wouldn't do it. I would encourage if it's anyone else's pleasure, by all means do it. Go submit. I wouldn't do it. It's not my thing.
It's totally mine. Poe is my bro. Poe is the reason why I started. Poe is the reason why I started writing poetry. I know it doesn't seem like it because of how I am now, but before I used to be an angsty youth, and Poe was my guy. I was like, oh, he can write that. I can write that. Don't judge me, okay? Don't judge me. But I love Gothic. I love all Gothic poetry, Gothic type of literatures are really up my alley. For some reason, I just really connect to them. Maybe because it's therapy for me or something like that. It's therapeutic for me. So if anybody's, I really want to do this workshop. So I hope other people will join me too.
Well, that's it. I mean, it is quite a niche and quite a specialist thing, isn't it? I think this type of poetry is very much the sort of thing, if you're into it, you're really into it. I don't think you get many people that are sort of a little bit into poetry like this. And I'm so glad that spaces like this do exist for people that are. I mean, I'm more on your side of it, Eddie. It's not massively my type of poetry. I know one exception to that. I've got a friend here in Nottingham called Jake Wildman, and he's a great example of how to write it. We have a crit group, a few of us once a month, where we get together, and I always look forward to the poems that he's going to bring, just because they're so different from what I write and what I can write. And so yeah, if you know anyone who's into this type of poetry, please do tell them, because it looks like a great magazine. So thank you for your thoughts on that. And we will be back right after this.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Eddie, and while my anxiety is chronic, my poetry is iconic, and I'm joining you from Batoon, the north of Lebanon. As this new year finally rolled in, many of us, me included, see this opportunity to start over and birth new beginnings, which is actually the title of the workshop I'm bringing you, Breakthrough to New Beginnings. This workshop will take place on Tuesday, the 4th of January, 2022. Oh my gosh, we're in 2022, at 7 p.m. GMT. In this first workshop, you will focus on new beginnings, and you will listen to 3 beautiful poems performed by the artist and then discuss each poem. Then you will be provided with 5 prompts and have around 3 minutes to write your own poems or journal entries using the prompts. Lastly, you will have some time to share, and if you want, you can receive feedback from other attendees and the hosts if you're comfortable with that. Speaking of the host, Judith Anique Francois is a writer who lives in Chicago. She has an MFA in creative writing and loves to write personal essays, short stories, and long-form fiction. She is currently working on a novel, a memoir about the times she worked in Haiti, and many other projects. So let me address my fellow heralds and see how are you guys approaching this new year? Are there new beginnings? A lot of us see this new year as new beginnings. Is this the way for you?
I used to be of that mentality, but then, 2020 happened, and now I'm like, just ride with it. But I do have goals that I'm trying to attain. Instead of calling them resolutions, I call them goals. So I actually go and do them, because I feel like resolutions are one of those things where you're like, yeah, new year, new me, new goals to not do, fall asleep on. Yeah. So I don't want to. So this year, my goal is to just ride the wave, because I'm horrible at it.
I wish I could go with the flow or ride the wave as much as you do, Arsene. I'm very prescriptive in the way I organize my day and try and structure my day. And I think sometimes that's to the detriment of the free-flowingness of my writing, because I'll have something else sort of almost like structured in place for when, say, inspiration hits or something like that. And I think certainly my writing was very inconsistent last year, both in terms of how much I did it and in terms of the quality of it. I've been going through one of those everything I write is garbage phases that we all go through at certain points, whether or not the writing is that or not. And so in terms of this workshop, I think the timing of it's absolutely perfect, just because, first of all, you get to hear some poems, you get the chance to get some really sort of honest feedback on it. And also you get prompts that you just wouldn't normally get. And I just say quickly on that, just if nothing's coming to mind to write about, just find something, get a random word generator or something like that. I know for Christmas, my niece got me some storytelling dice, six dice, each with all different pictures on them. And so you've got 6 to the power of 6 number of stories that you can make out of them, and it's going to be good fun playing with that. Just if you haven't got something, get someone else to give you a prompt just to try and get you regularly writing and just get you back into the flow. So workshop looks great.
It is, and I'm amazed by those dice. Like it's I want some. Well, that is it for me now. We will have a break and then we will come back with Arsene.
Hello, happy 2022. It is I again, Arsene, bringing you another exciting event. I hope you guys have some resolutions that include starting your poetry if you haven't started your poetry, or bringing back your poetry if you took a little pause, because I have a workshop for you called Imagination. It is going to be on the 13th of January at Thursday at 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it is hosted by the award-winning poet, Jess Parker, who is the author of Star Things. And she will be going through everything you could possibly imagine, starting from the experience of writing poetry to getting published, everything you could possibly imagine. Any questions you have should be answered in this beautiful 1-hour workshop. And you also get an opportunity to create some pieces with her. So if you are new to poetry or looking for a fresh start, this workshop is here and ready to gear you up for the year. So these resolutions will not be slept on if you are about to start poetry or get back into your poetry, because I have got the solution for you right here. I would love to bring my heralds on and let them sound off on what they feel about this beautiful little event here, workshop here.
It sounds sort of similar to the way the one in Eddie's segment talked about just getting your writing going again. I think this is about getting you going, but with a different kind of spin on it, because to ask someone who's been there and done it and got the t-shirt and found the way to do what they do and get where they want to be I've not read this particular book, but they've done it. They've written their book. They've got it out there. They've formed their network. They've formed their connections. And we struggle. Well, certainly it's something I struggled with. Maybe I didn't know who to ask. Maybe I didn't know to ask the right questions. But to have something like this and such an opportunity to just, someone's going, I'm here, I'll tell you and you can ask me. That's just invaluable. And so power to Jess Parker for doing that, and definitely recommend going along. There is no such thing as a silly question if it's something you don't know the answer to, so definitely recommend this.
Yes, I as you were telling us about the workshop, Arsene, I thought this is a great, perfect actually way for someone who wants to get into the world of poetry, the realm of poetry. To me, I thought, this is for someone who is introducing themselves to the scene more than someone who is coming back. But also it could work. Like, I would want to attend that workshop to know more about publishing and about the journey. And what I find beautiful about the world of poetry is that even that is something that does reel you in. Like, sometimes when we think about these talks in any field, you're like, so they're gonna tell us about their experience. Not everything is roses and butterflies. Okay, we're gonna sit there. But when it has poetry in it, I know for a fact that you're gonna go in and you're gonna see how beautiful this world is, despite all the publishing hassles and the writing and editing and going through all of the process of writing a book or putting your work out there. Still, it is beautiful, and I think it will attract a lot of people. Thank you very much, Arsene, for sharing.
Oh, definitely. Thank you guys so much for your thoughts and opinions on it. I also am in agreement with you guys that this is great. I wish this existed when I published my book, because I would have loved to hear from a published author what their tips are and all that stuff. So, guys, Imagination Workshop, Thursday, January 13th, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you're interested in jumping in, to poetry, if you're interested in getting a book published, if you're interested in re-jumping into poetry, that's the workshop for you guys. And guess what? As always, this is free 99 on Eventbrite. So please do check it out. All experience levels are welcome. Okay. On that note, once again, wishing you a very happy new year. And we will be taking a break and coming back once again with our lovely herald, Eddye. Thanks.
Hello, I'm Jared. I'm 19 and I never learned how to read. I'm just kidding. I just miss Vine so much. This is Eddie again. I'm actually almost 25. I'm a teacher, so I know a couple words. I'm filling in for Squig's segment today, hoping that he gets better and joins us next episode. The article I'm bringing you today was published around a week ago by The Independent, and its title is "The Medics Using Poetry to Battle the Pandemic." In this article, the writer Dominic McGrath talks to Dr. Stephen Hatton, the founder of the St. James Hospital Poets and Players Society in Dublin, in Ireland, and it is the first and only group of its kind in any Irish hospital, about the idea of using poetry among medics and frontline workers against the COVID-19 pandemic that has left the health staff exhausted. Dr. Hatton states that he found solace in poetry and literature, and that he has proposed this idea to his superiors and other staff members early during the pandemic period, like even before vaccinations rolled out. He explains that the attendance was so shy at first that for the first few weeks, he was the only attendee. However, with time, more and more of the hospital staff started showing up to share their own writing during those hard times. And I'm quoting from the article here: as regularly as they can amid the ever-changing COVID-19 situation, the group of healthcare workers gathered together to discuss, read, and perform some of their own poetry. Get-togethers have included visits to the Museum of Literature Ireland and the Irish Museum of Modern Art, IMMA, as well as Dr. Hatton called a Poets and Players Society Post-it Poetry and Pizza Party. He says that we wrote poems on Post-its and stuck them around the staff rest area. Like Dr. Hatton, many staff members have discovered this passion for poetry and are now even trying to spread it among their patients. The article I have for you, you can check it in the link in the description to this video. And of course, we have nothing to say to all frontline workers who have been fighting against the COVID-19 pandemic, trying to keep us safe, but a huge thank you and a great appreciation for the effort that they're doing. And people, get vaccinated and please stay safe. And I would like to invite my fellow heralds back on the screen to see what they think of this initiative.
I think it's amazing. As you were saying, frontline workers have, I can't even imagine the stress they're going through as a person who's going through so much stress just watching what's going on. So to have this channel and to tap into the channel of poetry is, if it's helping them, that's amazing. I really, really appreciate this article for that. And to prescribe it to their patients, that's amazing. I always have said that poetry has a way of healing, and goes to show it's science. It's not an opinion, it's science. So.
Absolutely. Well, it's like care for the carers, isn't it? It's like medication for the carers. And I exactly echo your thoughts. Just what our doctors, our nurses, our medical staff, our carers have done through this pandemic is just absolutely incredible. And certainly in the UK, often for scandalously low wages as well. And, I don't know where we would be without our care staff and our medical staff right now. And we have to be so grateful to them. And I think, certainly, exactly like you say, Arsene, poetry is medicinal. Poetry is a form of healing. And I'm so happy to read this, just because poetry can help, and poetry, if it gives people who are struggling an outlet for their words or something to just funnel some of the stress or the anxiety or the difficulty away from their daily lives, whether or not they ultimately take it to open mics or books or just do it as an outlet while they need it. It's just amazing to see poetry being used in such a positive way. And I hope that other hospitals would want to follow suit with this. And I hope that it successfully spreads for the patients as well.
Yeah, really. Thank you. I actually do know many medical practitioners in Lebanon, for example, especially after these last 2 years with the pandemic, with the lack of any authoritative or government or anything, with the explosion that unfortunately happened more than a year ago. Medical practitioners in Lebanon have been through the ringer these past couple of years, and I know a lot of them have resorted to poetry and have joined the local poetry scene simply because they needed to, if not to express themselves, at least to just disconnect and listen to something. So yeah, I really hope this idea takes off. This is really interesting, and it is both giving and taking. Like, you are both enjoying yourself. Yeah, these kinds of thank you for you to enjoy yourself, but you're also healing in the process. That's amazing. Thank you guys very much for sharing your thoughts.
Thank you, Eddie and Arsene. Thank you to everybody who has tuned in today. We hope that you've got some interesting stuff out of this and some things that you want to go along to or submit to. But also let us know, what do you think about Gothic poetry? What do you think about the idea of poetry being used as a form of healing in hospitals? Do you love Eddie's new intros as much as we do? We would love to know what you think in the comments below. And Arsene has all the details about how to get in touch with us.
Well, I also very much enjoy Eddie's intro, and I hope you do too. But we would love to make some friends. I hope you tap in with us. And if you'd like to keep in touch, there's a great way to do it on our socials. Please go ahead and follow us on Instagram at PGN Official, TikTok, the PGN Official, Facebook, Poetry Global Network. Give us a like, give us a tap, give us a comment, give us a heart. We like all of those things, and we heart all of you. So have a great week. Thanks again so much for tuning in. This has been the Poetry Global Network.
You forgot TikTok.
Oh
yeah.
God, it wasn't TikTok.
I was writing it in the chat box, and I'm like, okay, that's whatever.
What was the TikTok again?
I think the PGN